All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me for the second time. My name is Sunny Ng, and my pronouns are he and him. And today I'm going to talk about the latest project I've been working on. It's called the Weekendest, and the title is A Dynamic Map for New York City Subway. Finally. So back in September 2018, which was the last, and also the last time I came here, I talked about my shadily named project, goodservice.io. And basically the inspiration of that came from the MTA implementing countdown clocks on all trains. And then people on transit Twitter complaining that service isn't actually good on the countdown clocks, even though it says good service on the mta.info. And so I made an app that keeps track of headways. And then it kind of evolved from there. So this is keeping track of headways. This is keeping track of delays. So this is all additional information I'm extracting out of the real-time APIs. This is keeping track of travel times between stations in the subway. So here it's taking like twice as long. And so when you look at GTFS real-time, the data format, it basically gives us train times and also stations they're stopping. And so at that point, I was like, okay, what else can I get from this? And then I decided to, well, I can make route maps. And so these are actually real-time route maps. So on the left is the A train running during peak hours. I guess it's PM rush, because you see 3 different terminals on the A train. And then in the middle, it's like the N train when one side is running through Lower Manhattan, the other side is running on Manhattan Bridge. And then on the right side is the F train, where there's a rogue train that is running in Queens on the G line. So that happens sometimes. And so, yeah, I was able to extract information like this out of GTFS real time, which is not what it's used for, but it works. And so I think about this map, which is kind of funny because it was brought up by a New York Times article earlier this week. And I think about what I don't like about it. What I really don't like about it, aside from the design, because it's shit, but also it is like not really accurate most of the time, because it's based on weekday peak hours patterns, right? So on a show of hands, how many people know which trains don't run on weekends? Oh, see, not, okay, who knows which ones they are? B, and C does, okay. Oh, Z, okay, Z, N, W, okay, and then M runs weirdly. So yeah, it's not something that's obvious on this map. And sure, yeah, you can look at this, but like, who's gonna do that? And if you're new to the city, it's not obvious. And also like some of the descriptions is still not very intuitive for a map user. And so this map is not very useful for the layperson. And so, and again, those are only things those are already issues when we're talking about like normal weekend service or normal overnight service. What about planned service changes? Well, right now, the only ways for us to really figure out weekend and overnight service changes are, well, we can read this. How many of us actually read this on a regular basis? I think I do it sometimes when I'm waiting for a train that's like 12 minutes away. But they're no use, and also it's not very intuitive. It's like a wall of text, right? I mean, I know they changed the formatting is a little better, but it's still like a wall of text. And then the other way is like going to the My MTA app or the MTA website, where you click on a specific train line and you'll get another wall of text telling you what the service changes are. The maps don't really correspond to the changes because they're static. And so it's still not very intuitive. So unless you're like a transit nerd, you're not really going to know what the routing means when it says like, you know, the F is going on the A. And then there's also the Weekender. The MTA put that out in 2011. And again, you get a static map of a weekend's, like typical weekend service, which never happens. And then you click on a route, you see that, you see some blinking lights, but again, it doesn't tell you where trains are going, and you're hit with the wall of text. And then in 2012, somebody by the name of Lance took over a blog called Subway Weekender. And he basically like redraws maps twice a week for overnight and weekends and puts them out as PDF files. And it's amazing what he's doing, and I love that he does this, but at the same time, they're PDF files, so they're not very intuitive when you're looking at it on a computer or on a phone. And then another thing is they're not real time. So like, has anyone ever taken a subway between like 10 p.m. and midnight and you don't know which patterns are actually happening? And this is not really gonna help you on that. And so I was bored one day and I tweeted to New York City Transit Subway as a normal person would. And I said, okay, well, we have a late night map. Why don't we have a weekend map so we can swap them on those screens that are now on the platform? And the response that I got was, well, it's definitely something to consider, but the challenge is there is no map that can show changes on the fly. And to that I say, true that. So there is a need for a dynamic system map to the New York City subway. So my first inspiration for creating a system-wide map was somebody by the name of Eliza Ofrishtag. She created I Want to Ride an Electric City.bike. And so I saw that it's like, oh, this is a really cool looking map. Let me kind of rip this off because it's open source. And so this is my first proof of concept of the Weekendest back in October 2018. And this shows basically real-time routing of maps using leaflet.js. So there were a few problems because this is, after all, a proof of concept. It's real. First of all, the lines kind of overlap because I'm basically just connecting the dots of stations and routes. And then it's also difficult to show station names because some areas of the map is way more dense of subway stations than others. And then also it's not really clear where what trains are actually stopping at each station. So we need to do a little better than just like dots. And then we have these like really god-awful jagged lines because we're just connecting the dots. And so like in this case, in one direction, the 7 train is running express and the other direction is running local, but they showed the lines diverge because the dots don't match up like that. And so it looks weird. And so I didn't like it. And I feel like there's some work that needs to be done on this. And so I took an inspiration from a library called Mapbox. Sarah Kleinman, who was an employee at Mapbox, created a prototype for mapping the DC Metro. And it gave me a lot of inspiration because, first of all, I can see that you can have lines that don't necessarily overlap each other, but following the same route. You can have different map symbols, and then also you can like look at different station labels depending on your zoom. So at that point, I realized, okay, this is what I want to start using for my map. And then somebody by the name of Sadiq Mohidin from Calgary, he also used basically Mapbox to route bus maps in Calgary. And this is his BRT map. And so I took it onto myself and I signed up for Mapbox. The first thing I did was I created a map, which is actually very easy to do. And all I really did was like basically reformat it to like hide things I don't care about. So things like city, state, doesn't matter because we're looking at New York City. And street names, we can kind of like, it's important, but not that important in this context. So I can like dim it down a little bit. And so here it is. It's open source, so you can use it if you want to, but I didn't really do that much on it. And so this was the end result. I was able to use Mapbox and map out train routes based on the real-time routing. So this is the F train this past weekend. And as you can see, it's going, I think it's going uptown normally and downtown through the A. So you can see that little loopy doop there. And so like in terms of resolving issues, basically I used the shapes.txt file from the GTFS data and basically made like a computer science graph and then used like a recursive function for it. And so think of it as like this. Let's say I have, so the A train normally skips 50th Street. So I would basically traverse through this tree and skip 50th Street until I find the next station that's actually on the routing. So computer science works sometimes. And then also to calculate lines offset is the classic computer science problem where like you're trying to color different countries on a map and how many colors do you need. That's basically the same thing with like how we need to determine the offset of each line. And then on top of that, I took advantage of Mapbox's collision detection so that like if an area of the map is very dense, it would not show certain stations. And then other things too. So I use all that information to determine if certain trains are skipping stations, and then I use different symbols to show the stop patterns. Okay, so now let's do a demo. Okay, so the problem with doing a demo like this is that It's not that exciting right now because it's weekday and all the trains are running normally. But you can kind of see things are happening here. Like you can, first of all, share your location so that it will zoom into where you are. So it goes, well, okay, I don't know why it's not working that well. Ooh, okay, I guess it's not a phone. But anyway, so here you can look, you can click on different trains to see how they're routed. And then you can also click on a station and see what trains are serving it, as well as the estimated arrival times. And again, as I said, this is not that exciting, so I'm going to give you a more exciting demo by going to my test site. So this is a test site that I used. I used data from 2 weekends ago, and so you can actually see service changes on it. And so as you can see, okay, so first of all, we can see a bunch of stations that are not being served on the Q line here, some on the Staten Island Railway, and it's obvious. And if we want to zoom in, we can see more. So first of all, there's an advisories tab. So there's, if you click on that, it would just highlight all the stations that are either completely closed or bypassed one way. So that's one of the things that really is frustrating when service changes happen, is like you can't take the train to Manhattan or something like that. And so this gives us all of that right here. And then if you want, you can click on it to zoom in. So you see that. And then if you want to see like what the actual service changes look like for a particular route, you can click on it. So for instance, on the 2 line, you can see that it's running in 2 sections, and it shows right there. And so there's like the geographic map on the right, and then on the left you get the strip map, which is kind of cool. And everything is clickable, so you can, let's say if you want to click on Times Square, you can click on that here, and it'll get you to it. It'll show you the next estimated arrival times for the 1 and 2 trains here, and then also all the transfers. So for some reason, the D train is running on the AC line, and you can see that based on the estimated arrival time for the D train at 42nd Street Port Authority Bus Terminal. And if you click on D train, you can see the routing of where the D is running. And as you can see, it's running split between 8th and 6th Avenues in Manhattan. So yeah, and then also, I guess this is a question I'm probably gonna get asked, is it mobile friendly? And the answer is, of course. So let me do this thing. Oh no, don't do that. Okay, how do I do this? No. Oh no. Okay, wait. One second. It worked during rehearsal. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna try this again. Show my face. Don't want that. Try to screen. There we go. Oh no, it doesn't work. Okay. Well, that was a fail. Okay, let me try one more time. If it doesn't work, then I'm just gonna say screw it. Okay, I'll just do it with browser. Okay, so yes, you could just all right, you can basically just do that, and this is the mobile view. So it works and it hides. So it's different view, but it looks better on the phone. So yeah, you can try that. If you want to do the demo yourself, you can go to test.theweekendest.com. For the normal site, you can go to theweekendest.com. And then last thing I'll leave you with is, because I've been experimenting with this, is what if we can actually show delays and service status on the map itself? And yes, you can do that. So if you click on overlay issues here, so this will actually show where trains are currently running slow, or there are huge headway gaps, or if there are delays on it. So that's my demo, and that's it. Thanks for listening to my presentation.